Hello and welcome to Let's Talk HR with Dr. Janine, the talk show that spotlights HR professionals and talks about all things HR. Did you know that poor communication could be costing your business $12,506 per employee per year? How can that be? Want to know how to prevent it? Well, my guest, Dr. Angela Cooley, founder of Life Communications, will tell us how to do it. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. So glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
I am so glad that you're here. So glad that you're here to share with us today. So you're a speech pathologist,
right?
And you've been in the communication field and arena for many years, over 25 years,
Yes.
right? Why don't you tell us a little bit more about your professional journey?
All right. Well, my professional journey started as a little girl, actually.
Mm-hmm.
My brother was a chronic stutterer.
Okay.
And every morning when he would wake up to go to school, he was always afraid. He would run to my mom crying. He would chew on his fingers. He had nodules on his fingers because he was so nervous to go to school because he was a chronic stutterer. And I watched him go through that process, and my mother decided to remove him from the school system speech therapy services and enrolled him in medical speech therapy services. Now, as a little girl, I was excited because I got a chance to go along with him, and whatever the therapist told him to do, I would then tell him to do the same thing.
All right.
But as he matriculated and improved his ability to communicate, it was then that I determined that that's something that I wanted to do, to offer people confidence that they needed to be able to speak clearly and succinctly. So Michael did gain his ability to speak clearly. He became a docent. He went through high school and college and succeeded on his journey.
Yeah.
And so after that, I went to Jackson State University and majored in communication disorders, followed up with a master's at the University of Akron and in communications disorders as well.
Okay, absolutely. Isn't it funny how we use our life experiences that puts us in the place of our profession?
Right.
It happens
Yes.
a lot. It
Yes.
does. So you're the founder and CEO of Life Communications,
Yes.
right? Life Experience,
Yes.
Life Communications. Tell us about that.
Well, Life Communications offers, we offer training to individuals and or businesses who desire to improve their communication skills.
Yes.
And that training can be offered at the organization, or we can do it virtually, or we offer face-to-face training as well. And the training is customized to the individual needs. So if it's public speaking skills, if it's pronunciation, if it's accent modification, whatever the need is of the client is what we're able to offer.
Absolutely. So here's some statistics. Grammarly partnered with the Harris Poll about the landscape of business communication and business communication today. It was found that poor communication could cost organizations, listen to this number, $12,506 per employee per year. How so?
Well, Dr. Deneen, you know, communication is essential to every organization. It's what we do. In every organization, you have face-to-face communication, you have conference calls, video calls, you have professional meetings, you have presentations. And so in every organization that is needed. But if you have poor communication, it impacts employee morale. It impacts the manager's ability to have a meaningful communication with the employee.
Yes.
It impacts productivity. It impacts sales. It impacts branding, professional image, and it impacts the bottom line.
Yes, absolutely. That is dollars and cents.
Yes.
In organizations, it means dollars and cents. So as HR professionals, we are often looked upon as the voice of communication, of relevant information to employees and our other stakeholders. So what are the impacts of poor communication personally and professionally? You talked about on some of those things. So oral presentations, emails, all those things.
Yes. Well, really, it's just really a low confidence. So especially personally, if you have low confidence, low self-esteem, it impacts your ability to pursue your dreams, to take a risk, to pursue that new job opportunity. So poor communication professionally and personally impacts so many things. You know, you're not able to do the things that's really in your heart to do. It impacts your relationships with your family, your relationships on the job. So it impacts a lot of things.
Absolutely. So in the workplace, we know that employees can come in entry level, right? They come in entry level, they do a great job, and then they're promoted into leadership or lead positions.
Right.
So there is a certain language that moves from entry to leader, right? A certain language, a certain way of speaking, how you do those things. So in your profession, what do you define as effective communication?
Well, effective communication really is being able to share a message, a clear message that's understood by others. And when you're able to do so, you're doing that with ease, confidence, and poise.
So it's a method to that, right? There's a theory, so to speak, to that. Tell us about that theory, that method of communication and those key elements.
Some key elements to effective communication is stage presence, your ability to use good body language, facial expressions, eye contact, clarity of speech, your ability to pronounce your words clearly and succinctly, good listening skills, tone of voice is not what you say, but how you say it. And then just your overall delivery, coming as yourself, being a good representation of who you are.
And so important in the workplace. If you are a leader or if you're an HR professional at any standard, the way that you speak, the way that you source your communication, the way that you send the message, the way that you receive the message, all of those things you spoke about are going to be so important to the elements of communication today. So in the workplace, there are techniques and methods of communication used. Okay, tell us about those.
Well, I would simply say practice. Practice, 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 because we're all evolving. Everyone can benefit from improving their communication skills. Read aloud, listen to your voice, record your voice, record yourself practicing. If you have a meeting that's coming up, be prepared.
Absolutely.
Use a mirror, watch your facial expressions to see if your expressions are matching the words that you're saying. And then enlist a family or a friend to listen to you, to give you feedback.
Absolutely. So in HR, sometimes you always have impromptu meetings, impromptu times that you have to speak. How do you prepare yourself from going from a person that maybe just works on the computer to moving yourself to that next level of speaking and speech?
Well, if that's an area that you know you don't have the skill set, seek out professional training. That's where I come to play.
That's where she comes in. Professional training on how to make that transition, right?
Yes, seek out professional training, because we can look at you and make sure that the training is specific to what your needs are.
Okay. And so what are some of those areas that you teach?
Well, some of the techniques and methods that we can address at Life Communication is public speaking, presentation skills, listening, confidence building skills. It just depends on what the individual needs.
Okay. So you bring up a point that is just paramount in the workplace or anywhere you go, and that's active listening.
Right.
Tell us about active listening and how that makes such a difference in your communication and in your delivery.
Right.
And
well,
in
active
speech.
listening is so critical. And you active listening is watching your audience, making sure that they are receiving the information that you're saying. So you're looking at the head nods. You're looking to see if they are leaning into the information that you're saying. And if it's a one-on-one, you ask questions and to see if you heard what they said. So you may say, am I understanding you to say? So that they can feel as though they're being heard. So listening is very critical.
And so you're repeating, right? Repeating what they say to make sure that you're clear.
Right.
And that they are clear.
Right, and that they're receiving the information that you're sharing.
Okay,
Yeah.
Absolutely, so important. So HR professionals, my goodness, we are always having to talk to individuals, employees, leaders, business community leaders, all those things. And some of those techniques, we use those in different situations. So we may have to change our method of communication based upon the situation, right?
Right.
So oftentimes we have to give performance reviews, right? Oftentimes we may have to do counseling.
Right.
Tell us about feedback.
Okay, with feedback, you want to be specific, you want to be intentional, but you also want to offer support. And so what that looks like is I use the sandwich method.
Okay, tell us about the sandwich method.
So with the sandwich method, you would identify a strength, you would tell the individual what they're doing really well in, and then you'll come back with telling them an area that they can make improvements, but you give them what they need to do, offer a solution and how to make that improvement, and then you end with a positive statement. So what that would sound like is, Dr. D, you did an awesome job with that presentation. You were prepared. I really like your eye contact, but throughout the presentation, we could not hear you in the back of the room. But with practice, I know that you would get better. You're doing such a great job. And so that's the sandwich method.
That's the sandwich method. We've got to use that. HR leaders, HR business partners, any level, you can use that. And what's interesting is that you are complimenting the individual.
You're complimenting them, and then they have the confidence to want to do better, and they feel like that you are partnering with them.
And see, you told the improvement that I needed to make, but I didn't even really feel like she was criticizing or critiquing me, right? So that sandwich method is so important. You got to use that again, okay? We got to use that. So there is an art to feedback. There is an art to communication. Can you speak more into that?
Yes. Again, you just want to be specific, and the art is being prepared, knowing your audience, taking the time to research whatever the information is that you're going to present. Anticipate questions ahead of time. Write them down. It may not be the exact question, but you will have a knowledge base. And if you're unable to answer a question, be truthful and say, hey, I'm not sure, but I'll get back with you.
I'll get back.
So there is an art to it, but when you are prepared, you feel confident in knowing what you're going to present.
Okay, so being prepared is one. Now, let's tackle this. I'm quiet. Well, that's not the truth, but I'm quiet.
Right.
So we're giving a scenario here. I'm a quiet person. I have been promoted into a job that almost every day I've got to speak to leaders, community leaders, my team of employees. What are those things? Give some examples of what those things I can do to build confidence, or to even be perceived as having that confidence that you need.
Dr. Deneen, I believe that the organization should invest into the employees.
Yes.
So that when they do have an opportunity to promote, that they are prepared.
Yes.
So training is critical. You may not have the skill set to do it on your own. You may need a professional to assist you so that we can identify those specific areas that's unique to that individual to give them the tools and the resources they needed to be successful, to really truly represent the brand of that organization.
Okay, so if I am quiet, what would that look like? What would that training look like? Would that be training on?
Well, that training will look like an assessment. I will ask you questions. I will ask you, what is it that you're uncomfortable with?
Yes.
What do you feel like your strengths are? What do you feel like your weaknesses are? And then we will tackle that. And then we will cultivate a plan that will address specifically what your work needs are. If you're having meetings, if you're having face-to-face interactions, if you're out going into the community. So whatever that is, we will use the information that you use on a day-to-day basis to help strengthen those communication skills.
Okay, so we have to identify, the things that you want improvement in, and then find those solutions and practice those solutions in order to go to the next level in communication. So let's talk about these emails, right? We've been in a pandemic, and we could talk about communication over the computer, over Zoom, over Teams. Let's talk about those two. What are the things that a person can do that they need to step up their communication skills? For instance, if they're moving from business partner up to an executive. What would they need to do to upskill their communication?
Again,
That way.
once again, it all still being prepared,
Mhm.
doing the research, making sure you know who your audience is, going the extra mile to, if it's a Zoom call, knowing how to set up the Zoom room, knowing how to sit up straight to make sure that you're looking directly in the camera, using your chat to have effective communication with those who may be listening,
Mhm.
and then ask questions, because with the digital communication, it's different from face to face.
Yes.
So you want to feel the warmth of the room. So
Yes.
you invite your audience, hey, chat with me in the chat box. You may have someone else to assist you with that.
Mhm.
And then you want to look the part. When I talk about stage presence, all of that is consistent no matter what area or arena you're in. You want to demonstrate good stage presence. You want to have good body language. You want to make sure that your face and your hands are all visible to your audience so that they can receive the information that you're sharing. 10% of the information that we communicate is through words.
Mhm.
40% is facial expressions and our tone of voice, and the rest, the 60%, is through our body language. So all of that is encompassed
Mhm.
in our communication skills. So all of it is essential, and no matter what the platform is, you bring those same skills.
Okay. So bringing presence
Right.
encompasses all of that. Those things. Bringing presence to the room, bringing presence to where you are. So important. And this is not something that we talk a lot about in the HR arena. What you would need to do to train your leaders, or to train your front staff, and turning them into leaders in terms of communication.
Right.
That means you have to use industry-based words.
Right.
People-focused instead of I'm developing people. You're people-focused, right? People-centric. You use those type of things. Being able to say that you are looking into having a meeting. Well,
Right.
you're going to facilitate a meeting.
Right.
Right. So you use those different words to help bring up your communication vocabulary.
Right.
Would you say?
And so you would use the words that's significant to that industry. Each industry you have unique words that's significant to them.
Mhm.
So you need to make sure that you're up on that jargon, that you
Mhm.
understand what that language is. And I'm sure as you grow in the organization, there will be information that would be provided to you so that you can gain the ability to know the jargon for that particular industry.
Right. So part of your leadership training does need to include effective communication. And she's the lady to do it for you. Okay. So how do we prevent? That number was shocking to me. $12,506 per employee per year due to poor workplace communication. So how do we prevent our organizations from losing money due to that? What can senior leaders do to ward off these type of losses?
Back once again, Dr. D, organizations must invest into their employees so that everyone is speaking with one vision and one voice, and providing the training that they need so that they can be true representations of the organization, so that the branding is reflective across the board in a positive light.
Right. So if you have this wonderful brand and your talent is not living up to that brand, then we got some work to do.
Got
right?
some work to do.
Got some work to do.
Yes.
Is there anything or any advice you would like to give to leaders or to people who are wanting to improve their communication methods or styles?
Well, I would just suggest, if there are things that you if you really want to improve your communication skills, seek professional help. There are organizations such as myself, Life Communications, that are there to assist you to identify strategies that's unique to your individual needs so that you can speak with confidence, ease, and poise. And then I will also encourage organizations to do the exact same thing as I've stated throughout the presentation, is make investments into your employees. And when your employees feel that you have their back, they will go over and beyond for you. And then it will be just a good reflection of the company, the branding, the professional image, the sales will go up, the bottom line will go up. You know, all of the employees will benefit because the company is making money. And not only that, it will be good relationships within the company because the customer is not only outside of the company, but the customer is also internally.
Yes, internal
so
customers.
each department communicate with each other. So effective communication is essential across the board.
Across the board. You heard it here.
Across the board.
Across the board. Thank you so much, Dr. Cooley, for coming in. How do people get in touch with you? What's your website?
My website is www.thelifecommunications.com, or you can reach me at 901-907-6699.
All right. You heard it here. So now that we know how to prevent poor workplace communication from costing your organization money, time, and productivity, we know what to do now. We have learned the elements of effective communication and the techniques we can use to improve communication in the workplace. As HR professionals, our focus is to put the appropriate organizational interventions in place to make effective communication work for us instead of against us. Be sure to watch Let's Talk HR with Dr. Deneen every second and fourth Friday on the YouTube channel of the same name. Please note, you can watch prior episodes at any time. Go to the YouTube channel and type in the talk show title. Be sure to subscribe, no fee, to the channel and click on the notification bell. This is HR TV. I'm Dr. Deneen, and I want to talk HR with you. HR forever. See you next time.